So it is kind of weird this morning with no prelude because that's a rough one. It's our first week without Carly. We're gonna go through it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emily Quarles-Mower. I'd like to welcome you all to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Pottstown. Welcome to all of you who are joining us in the sanctuary. Welcome to all of you who are on Zoom. And welcome to those of you who are visiting online later on in time. With all the choices we have for what to do on Sunday mornings, I'm so glad that you chose to be with us. This morning, our music is going to be a cappella, and that's going to be a fun experiment. And we'd like to send a shout out to Justine for being our technology lead today. Thank you so much. For over 50 years, UUFP has been a liberal religious voice in the Pottstown area. As Taylor Swift said, we found Wonderland and you and I got lost in it. As UUs, we believe the whole world is a wonderland, and getting lost in it is part of the fun of living. The world is a big place with lots of questions to explore. And the important thing is that we keep an open mind and support one another as we do our searching and exploring. But perhaps most importantly, we believe that your search belongs to you, and our circle of justice and compassion is big enough for everyone, no matter where they're searching or what questions they bring. We hope your spirit, your heart, and your mind are refreshed this morning as we explore the principle of inherent worth and dignity. We come together this Sunday morning and every Sunday morning, not because we share a creator, but because we share a promise. We promise to support one another on our spiritual journeys. Our services are different each week, but the loving kindness we offer one another in this community remains the same. So whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, we are so glad that you chose to be with us today. And now we have a moment for announcements. If you have an announcement, please feel free to come forward and please introduce yourself.
Morning, everybody. I'm Clifford, and yesterday I did a cooking class on cream puffs and the little cheese puffs that you make from it, and it was wildly successful. I think we raised $375 for the church. We all had a really great time, and I also did wine pairings with each one. That was also lots of fun, which we have not really advertised, but that's always part of the cooking demonstration is choosing some wines to go with it and talking about the wine and why it goes well with each dish. So it was loads of fun. I'm looking forward to the next one, I think in November or December.
Morning, I'm Lori, and knitting also goes well with wine. Just want to say. So we're still knitting. This is our renewing collection of dolls that we donate to Help International for children around the world who are living in poverty and war-torn stricken situations. So if you want to learn to knit, third Sunday is the day we get together after potluck. Feel free to join if you would like. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Valerie. Sound like it. I'm interested in having, speaking of fundraising and crafting, I am interested in having a craft fundraiser for the holiday season. I will be asking for donations of crafted items, and it can be like anything. I mean, I knit, right? But it could be absolutely anything. I saw lots of beautiful crafts from some of our members of that creativity service that Megan or Monica put together the other year, and yeah, so I mean, I'll keep repeating this, but my hope is to have maybe 10 to 12 donated crafts that we can then raffle off in December as holiday gifts and donate the raffle proceeds to the church.
And now it's time to light the shadows. Do you have a volunteer to light the shadows this morning? Oh, so do you want to help? Thank you. Maybe I haven't done it in a while, but next time. Thank you. We light our chalice this morning with words from Brian's Lee, the light within us. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love. And it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. And now is my weekly reminder, that same technology that allows us to see the services that we missed, or see our friends who are far away from us, or connect to people through different media all across the world. It can also distract us from the place we are here and now. So now is the time in service where I ask you to put your phone into worship mode. And once you've done that, if you'd like to take a nice deep breath. Feel yourself in your chair. And take note of how your body feels today. Do you have tightness in your shoulders? Do you have tightness in your back? Are you feeling like breathing is a little hard with your fall allergies? Sometimes our bodies have messages that we just get used to ignoring, but we can take a second and just listen to our bodies. Listen to ourselves. Listen to our own thoughts. Listen to the rustle of people around us. And feel that we are all here together. You know, Miranda once told me that a really good way to meditate is to play a chime and just try to think of nothing but that noise of the chime for the entire time you can hear it ringing. That chime rings for a really long time. For an opening this morning, we have words by Sharon Wiley. She says, "We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us today speak of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you beautiful just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. There's nothing to prove here, nothing to prove to me or the person sitting next to you or the children or anyone. You don't have to try to be more witty or more quiet or more outgoing. You are beautiful. Every part of you, beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful just the way you are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Come, let us worship together. So now is the time for our first hymn. And this is our first hymn that we're going to try to do without Carly. So what we're going to try to do is, it's hymn number 1003. And this is, you'll notice if you open up your book, or if you look at the screen, there's 4 different lines. Each one of those lines has a different tune attached to it. And we can sing them all at the same time. So what we're going to do today is, first I'm going to sing you each of the lines and you're going to sing it right back to me. And then we're all going to try to sing whichever line we were able to remember the best, whichever line spoke to us the most, whichever line is the fun line for you. That's what we're going to sing. And we're going to sing each of those lines through 3 times. And then we're just going to listen to the holy silence. Sound good? All right. So. No, you don't have to stand up because this is an experiment. We're all gonna experiment on singing together. Okay, so the first line. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? The next line goes. Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Next line. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. The last line goes. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? All right, so does everybody have a line in mind that they're like, yes, this is the one that I remember well enough to sing? We good? Okay, so I'm gonna count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where do we come from? Where do we go? Where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? It's a big mystery. All right, so now it is time for a story. Whether you're young in body or in spirit, you're welcome to come up to the front of the sanctuary. You're welcome to take one of the rugs to sit on if you like. Okay, and I think that's all.
Oliver, come on, buddy. Oliver. Okay, so I don't have an actual physical copy of the book, so if you guys want to look up there while I read. You sit with me? Okay. So I was looking over what Emily is going to be talking about today, and this is one of my favorite books. Simple, but it's beautiful. It's called You Matter by Christian Robinson. The small stuff, too small to see. Those who swim with the tide and those who don't. The first to go and the last. You matter. When everyone thinks you're a pest. When something is just out of reach. When everyone is too busy to help, you matter. If you fall down, if you have to start all over again, even if you're really gassy, you matter. Sometimes home is far away. Sometimes someone you love says goodbye. Sometimes you feel lost and alone, but you matter. Old and young, the first to go and the last. The small stuff too small to see. You matter. Okay. Are we ready for class? All right, let's go. Thank you for listening.
Now is the time in our service where we pause for our morning offering. Paul Delvell reminds us that the offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and these people. It's as much of a ritual as singing together or lighting our chalice or reciting our affirmations. It's how we show that we believe it's important to worship together and to help our community and to say yes to our values of faith. So thank you so much for the morning offering, given in a spirit of generosity and received with gratitude and love. And if this is your first time visiting our congregation, feel free to let the basket pass you by because, you know, your gift is just being here with us, and giving us a chance. I feel like I should be able to do the music that Carly always played during the offering. I can sing it, but that doesn't actually help. So I guess I'll move to the reading next. This is a poem. It's a poem by Julia Watts Belser. And it's called This is the Landscape. So reads the doormat of conditional welcome. Here will pass the enabled. Blessed be their less complicated bodies. They will be able to hustle up a flight of stairs, decipher the PA, endure fluorescent lights, follow long, thick, complicated words. They will not come with service dogs or baby strollers with sign language, wheels, or walkers. They will be strong and stoic, like machines that never break, expectant of perfection. They will not come a-hobbling. Well, I will not run with them those who would devour my wholeness because it does not measure up standard sized. I will not come begging on my knees. This is the landscape of loneliness, the stink of pity, the way someone's story of tragedy curls around my body where it doesn't belong. Well-meaning people apologize for the wrong things. I'm sorry about the scooter, they say. I'm not. I'm sorry about what passes for the accessible entrance, the back way where they cart out the trash. Or about the sidewalks that quit without curb cuts. The single step that could have been smoothed, or the accessible dorm where the disabled students live. Well, good thing they don't want to visit any of their friends. I'm sorry you haven't had the privilege of seeing me in your schools, in your delis, in your bathrooms, in your boardrooms. I'm sorry you don't even know to miss me. That you grew up in a world that didn't bother to build me a way in. But this is the landscape. And I'm not sorry. I'm angry and I'm weary and I'm tired of waiting. There are apologies due, but they needn't all come curling from my lips like bribes to the border guards of inaccessible terrain. I'm not sorry. I'm not the one who's shamed. Normally we'd have another thing to sing right here, but we don't, so I'm just gonna go right into the sermon. So I started thinking about this sermon because we had a DEI at my work, and they asked us to think about what are the things that you take for granted in your life that other people might not take for granted. And somebody brought up curb cuts, and I was like, oh yes, that one single step that doesn't matter at all to me. And yet, for some people, it's the difference between being able to cross the street by themselves and not being able to cross the street by themselves. And, you know, they talk about, oh, bring your whole self to work because that's very important. Bring your whole self to work. Well, the first time I heard the phrase, bring your whole self, I thought, yeah, no thanks, I'm just gonna leave my arm at home. I mean, what choice do we have? If we're gonna go somewhere, we have to bring our whole self. That's one of those long, hard lessons that we learn on the way to adulthood. Like Oscar Wilde said, you gotta be yourself because everyone else is taken. You know, wherever you go, there you are. You can't outrun yourself. You can't turn your back on yourself. You can't leave yourself behind. You're stuck with you. I'm stuck with me. Now, you might be sitting out there thinking a very strong, yeah, but at me. I can hear it, I can hear it. Well, I mean, that's not what they mean when they say, bring your whole self. Sure, wherever I go, there I am, but I don't have to be so, and then you can fill in the blank here with whatever you wish you were a little less of. Or maybe this time when I go out, I can be a little bit more, and then you can fill in the blank with whatever traits you wish came naturally to you. Or even, oh, well, it's none of their business if I am, fill in the blank with a fact about yourself that you often keep to yourself. And I get it. I mean, when we're kids, we can mostly be who we are and people just smile at us. If we're shy, then we're shy, it's okay. If we're clumsy, oh, everybody spills things sometimes. If we can't sit still when we're supposed to, well, we're still learning and growing. If we blurt out facts about ourselves and others, kids say the darndest things. But you know, then we get bigger. Then we're still a little shy. Or we're still a little fidgety. And then people try to coach us out of it. Or we share a little bit more than we need to, or we run into things and people smile uncomfortably. And so we learn to put on a mask. And we learn to fit in. And we learn to be a little bit closer to who other people think we should be. And we're all wearing masks, every single one of us. And we try to show people our best selves. And, you know, sometimes when we put on those masks, we're making assumptions about what other people think that best self should be. And trying to figure out what other people think is exhausting. And I can't charge in and say, oh, that's all bad, because, you know, having manners, that's not a bad thing. Being able to be polite to people, that's not bad. Being able to be kind and think before you speak and look before you run into someone, that's not a bad thing. And, you know, if you go to another country and you take the time to understand their cultural norms, that's also not a bad thing. Learning to get along with others and form communities, that's what made humans the dominant species on the planet. And you can argue that cockroaches are the dominant species on the planet, but I beg to differ. We are actually causing major changes to the planet, so I think it's us. And you know, there are plenty of people out there who are very good at understanding the cultural norms of various groups and modifying their actions and presentation accordingly. You can call that code switching. And for people who are fluent in code switching, which honestly, I'm not, you would think I would be, but I'm terrible at it. Have you ever heard me try to use slang? I sound like a middle school, like librarian. It's not good. But being who you need to be in order to blend with the people around you is code switching. And some people are good at it. They're better at it than others. Like if you've ever heard the comedian Trevor Noah speak about growing up in South Africa, you know that the ability to code switch can be life-saving. And I'm actually gonna go get that. Like I was like worried about how long it would take to do the hymns the way that we did them. So I did not put this in, but I'm gonna go get the book because this is really, really great. And if you ever get a chance to hear, oh, she's gonna get it for me. Yay, my mother and daughter. Thank you, sweetheart. So if you ever get a chance to hear Trevor Noah like do this, he actually does all the voices and all of the like switching between languages, and it's amazing. It's amazing. But this is like a really short story that he tells. He says, I learned to use language like my mother did. I would simulcast, give you the program in your own tongue. I get suspicious looks from people while just walking down the street because he grew up in, if you are not already aware, he grew up in South Africa during the time of apartheid, where his very, like, it's called born a crime because his birth was evidence of a crime. And he also grew up, this is so fascinating to me. Trevor Noah grew up thinking that, like, not thinking that, because he didn't actually believe he was white, but he just thought that people didn't understand what the word white meant when they would refer to him. He's like, oh yes, it's like the difference between aqua and turquoise. I understand, yes, it's very easy to confuse. But it's really amazing that he grew up the way he did and looking the way he looked, and people would just assume he was white. Because in our country, no one would assume he's white. But it's really interesting to me, just the difference between cultures of what skin tones are considered what. Anyhow, so he says I learned to use language like my mother did. I would simulcast, give you the program in your own tongue. I'd get suspicious looks from people just walking down the street. Where are you from? They'd ask. And I would reply in whatever language they had addressed me in, using the same accent that they had used. And there would be a brief moment of confusion. And then the suspicious look would disappear. Oh, okay, I thought you were a stranger. We're good. It became a tool that served me my whole life. One day as a young man, I was walking down the street, and a group of Zulu guys was walking behind me, closing in on me. And I could hear them talking to one another about how they were going to mug me. And he actually writes in like the Zulu language, which it's a language with clicks, and I can't pronounce any of these words. But what they said was, let's get this white guy. You go to his left and I'll come up behind him. Well, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't run. So I just spun around real quick and said, yo, guys, why don't we just mug somebody together? Let's do it. And they looked shocked for a moment. And then they started laughing. They said, oh, sorry, dude. We thought you were something else. We weren't going to take anything from you. We were just trying to steal from white people. Have a good day, man. They were ready to do, he says they were ready to do me violent harm until they felt we were part of the same tribe. And then we were cool. That and so many other smaller incidents in my life made me realize that language, even more than color, defines who you are to people. I just think that's amazing. Like, he just talks to people in their own language, and instead of assaulting them, they accept him as part of their group. But you know, sometimes the cultural norms we feel we need to meet in order to fit in are oppressive. So as I said, at my work, we're trying to support diversity, equity, and inclusion. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable bringing their whole self to work. And we have these optional meetings where we're naming our privilege or talking about differences. And we try to have frank conversations with one another about the things that we're blind to. And we're encouraged to remember that the point is not to be perfect in understanding other people's actions or being able to have perfect actions in return, because you can't be simultaneously authentically you and try to act in ways that are not authentically you in order to mesh with another culture. Like those, you can't be both. So we can only do our best to listen to other people and to treat other people as they wish to be treated. Now, a lot of times, my own personal knee-jerk reaction is to reject the need for DEI. Look, I don't need to bring my whole self to work. I just need to bring my whole work self to work. So what I need in order to do my job are attention to detail, focus, knowledge of the laws and practices and procedures that impact my work, the ability to create clear and kind written communication to share that knowledge, the ability to explain to clients very, very kindly that if you don't tell us what account you're talking about, we're not going to be able to put the funds in your account. And you would be surprised at how many people really balk at that one. Why do you need my account? Because we're trying to make a deposit into it. Anyhow, but that being said, my best work self is also an able-bodied, middle-aged, cisgender African-American woman. And what I expect from DEI efforts is that the parts of my whole self that I don't need for my job, Well, they don't need to be hidden or celebrated. They just need to be acknowledged, like, yep, that's there, okay, and you're still doing a job. Now, some people hear me say that and think that I mean, oh, we should try to be colorblind or blind to our differences. And I don't think that we can ignore what makes one another different. And I don't think that we should ignore what makes one another different. And I'm gonna give you an example. When I was growing up, my parents bought a car called a Nova. It was a Chevy Nova. Do you guys remember that car? Marketers in the US thought that sounds like a fantastic name. It invoked these stars and space travel, and this was at the time when like I would stop out in elementary school, like I was constantly watching the space take off, like they would stop all of our learning so that we could watch televised space from Kennedy Center, like this launches, thank you. Well, that's a great name, Nova, supernova, yeah. And then they tried to sell that car in Mexico. Anyone here speak Spanish?
Nova, Nova.
Yes. ¿No comprarías un auto que no va? Would you buy a car called No-Go? So think about how that business case might have gone differently if there had been people in the room who, I don't know, spoke Spanish. But let's really think about it. So diversity would mean that there were people in the room who would have understood that Nova is a problem for a car name. Equity would mean that there were people in the room who had both understood that this was a problem and who would be in a position to point out the problem. Inclusion would mean that there were people in the room who would understand the problem, be able to point it out to others, and be empowered to work on a solution. Well, our fellowship is not a business, but diversity and equity and inclusion still matter. One of the things we're proud of here is that we believe we need to hear from multiple perspectives, that there's no one source of universal truth. Our human brains can't hold the entire universe, so we need one another's help to explore life's questions. The hymn, "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place," reminds us to trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind. We believe that everyone has a voice, that everyone's voice is worth listening to. Reverend Dave Farrington used to say, everyone has at least one sermon in them. We would love to hear yours. We also acknowledge that not everyone's sermon is delivered on Sunday morning, and not everyone's sermon uses words. It's a sermon of love and care to make delicious food that nourishes our bodies and encourages us to linger in conversation. It's a sermon of love and care to create small toys that comfort children and soldiers in war-torn areas. It's a sermon of love and care to nurture the garden and share its bounty with our neighbors who need fresh produce. It's a sermon of love and care to make sure that what we say here in this room can be broadcast to people who can't make it. It's a sermon of love and care to share our stories with one another, and as the song says, to listen with a loving mind. We believe that each of us has a connection to the transcendent mystery and wonder of the world. The holy is not limited to a few chosen ones who pray in the correct way to the correct name for God. We're each blessed with a divine spark, and that spark grows when we nurture it together. When I was a teenager, my mother was starting a church out in Lockport, New York. It was about an hour from our house. And I didn't go to church with her every Sunday. I had friends at the Amherst Church, so sometimes I'd go with them, and I had friends at the Buffalo Church, and sometimes I'd walk up there and go see them. But one day I did go to church with her, and instead of attending the service, I decided I was going to help in the nursery that day. And I remember the nursery attendant, who I thought of as much older than me, but who was probably just in her early 20s. She said to me, "I can see the light in you." Now, that was more than 30 years ago. And with my terrible name for memory for names and faces, I probably would not know her now. And honestly, I doubt she remembers me either, or remembers that offhand comment that she made. But I still treasure those words. At a time in my life where I felt like a perpetual outsider, that comment made me feel special and whole. An invitation to bring your whole self doesn't just mean that we have an opportunity to put down our masks and rest in the knowledge that we're welcome with all of our differences and our sharp edges and our childhood traits that we've learned to paper over. It also means that we all have the opportunity to be that person who lets someone else know that they are special and safe and cherished here. We all have the chance to listen to the God of our heart, to see the reflection of our humanity in another's world, and to keep our hearts in a holy place. So may it be for each of us. So it is now time for our other hymn this morning, and it's not "When Our Heart Is in a Holy Place," because I'm gonna play that. So we're gonna sing number 184 in the gray hymnal, which is "Be Ye Lamps Unto Yourselves." And I don't know if you've ever looked at this, but this one is actually words that are attributed to Buddha. And I always think about this one when I'm thinking about our chalice. Because our chalice is a lamp that we light here for each other. But as we always say, we keep that spark with us throughout the whole week. So we'll do this one the same way we did the last one, except this one we can all sing together. This one's not a round. I'll sing each phrase, so there's just 4 measures. I'll sing each measure, then you'll sing it back, and then we'll sing it through twice together, if that works for you. All right, so the first one, actually, I'm gonna get an F off the piano so that I don't go too high. Be lamps unto yourselves. Be lamps unto yourselves. Be to the truth within yourself. To the truth within yourself. As to the only love. As to the only. Be lamps unto yourself. Now is the time in our service where we have an opportunity to share our joys and our sorrows. closing words today, we have words from Gwen Matthews. She says, feel that each breath, every inhale and exhale, we are living, breathing, connected. We are whole, complete, beautiful selves that we are born to be. Feel that in your bones, in your muscles, in your heart, in your blood. That is the extraordinary you. The you who was born for this time and this place and this moment. Feel that, the struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief. It's still you. You are still whole and complete and beautiful and extraordinary, even when you feel that. Now please join me in reading our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not the light of wisdom, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and in our hands until we are together again. Amen. Shalom. Salam. Blessed be